What I do at the moment, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker. I never thought I would be speaking in a place like this today, but I followed my heart, and that's what I'm going to be tapping into in the space that I have, in how to tap into your artist. I was asked if I'm an artist, and I believe we are all artists. We have all the potential to express who we are through the flow of love and the universe. And so I believe the path to art is the path to going back to yourself. And so how do you do that? How do you span your self and who you are through art? That's very good, because we kind of suppress, and I think what we are called now is to move from suppression to expression. So here I am, expressing myself with a voice. I lost my voice last week, and I think we are recovering our voice and we are recovering our flow, and I help a lot of women now getting back into flow as well, as I was missing that in my life. And the way you go back into flow is trusting your intuition. I see many of the women working with me that they want to express something and they say, I'm not an artist. Same with men, but especially the people I work with, and they fear to be judged. And that's why I say the first step to create is to move from your head to your heart. So you leave your inspiration open, you are present in the moment, but then you drop what you want to express in your heart, because that's the key. I believe we all have something, our essence, to be expressed in the world. And it's our responsibility as well to dare to step away from fear into back to love, and then trusting that whatever is coming is right. It's the same when you want to speak, it's the same when you want to play music. Of course, you need some training. That's where the masculine energy comes. But then there is a part of you that needs to release and to let go and to flow. So it's allowing yourself to be supported with the structures, but also flowing. So allowing that something bigger than yourself is supporting you in the process. So that's why I feel once you tap into what's called coherence, which is using your brain and using your heart, you're able to go back into alignment and being in presence. And when you are present, everything is possible, I believe. Whatever needs to be expressed will be expressed. Whatever pain or whatever inspiration or beauty needs to be expressed through your art, if we trust it and you trust yourself, you will be able to tap something I believe is part of us, which is divinity. And I believe art is an expression of divinity, of who we truly are. And that's why I believe is the contribution to the world now into showing how magnificent we are as humans. We are not just flesh, we are spirit, and when we allow ourselves this beautiful energy to flow through us, we can create magic and we can create beautiful things to share with the world. I came here to share as well that we are called all to show who we truly are, and I think if you want to start today, just getting a piece of paper, some colors, and let your subconscious mind guide you and see what's coming, trust what's coming, because art is the way as well to listen to yourself in a different way. Your subconscious mind will show the way as well through your art. Anything that needs to be healed, anything that needs to be shared with the world, if you align with that flow and your heart and your essence in a way that you never did before, magic will happen. So I invite you to just take some time today to really start working from the heart space. My company is called Leading Heart because for many years I was in the industry of the IT, very male dominated, but also there was something that needed to be expressed. which was bringing myself into balance, into the feminine values, and also, in a way, bring that leadership forward, which is not only using the logic, but also using intuition, collaboration, art, and other beautiful things that we need to allow ourselves to share in the world. I come from Barcelona, as I say, and I'm building community over there. I'm attracting a lot of artists as well, funny enough, in this community, and I believe that through art we can inspire, and through art we can express sometimes something that we don't allow ourselves to express with voice. So that's my contribution for today, inviting you to drop from the mind to the heart, to feel the presence, to trust whatever is coming, and to see what is there for you to be expressed that you never expressed before. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Moni. It was so beautiful how you said, from suppression to expression. Because it's exactly, I mean, this is what this platform represents, that we all have a voice and we magnify it because it's important that they're heard. You know, we have something beautiful to say. Thank you so much for that. I invite Herminia. Welcome.
Thank you very much for being here this afternoon, and also thank you to the organization of this massive event. I'm sure there's a lot of work involved. So I'm here to talk about literature, which is also a form of art, and how it can be a generator of sustainable thought. It is no surprise to anyone that we are now currently living an environmental crisis. In a way, the reason why we're dealing with it now goes back to the Enlightenment, when there was a separation between culture and nature. So the idea that the two of them were not entangled was a very useful dichotomy, and also an artificial one, to enable the destruction, the taming, and also the framing and controlling of nature. So this leads us to where we are now, facing this situation. The role of the environmental humanities is really to question that idea, to question the idea that nature and culture are different, in which they are not that different, they're not mutually exclusive, in fact they are entangled. I mentioned literature in my title as a way to promote and instigate sustainable thought. So by sustainable thought, I mean a form of thinking that allows individuals to understand the interaction and interconnections as well, that there are consequences and to the decisions and choices we make. So that's sustainable thought. And literature can have a major role in getting people to understand that everything has a consequence. What we choose, whom we vote, has a choice and has a consequence in our lives. As such, literary texts can help frame that thought. And we don't have to go back only to the nature-based type of literature. In fact, science fiction can be very helpful, poetry, biography, or texts that have a biographical undertone, they can be very helpful in that. So in that regard, I believe that also for that generation, for literature to be a generator of sustainable thought, the paradigm of Euro-Western perspective has to be questioned itself. And one way to do that is to integrate other texts that are not from a Western tradition and include it in our universities, in our curricular plans, in our schools, to give the possibility of other people and students, our students, have access to different frames of mind. For only that way can we generate empathy and understanding. So overall, and to sum up, literature can be a source of sustainability, and I dare go even a little bit further. It can be a way to reach activism. It's a form of taking action. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Herminia, for your impassioned words. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Your perspectives and your views, appreciate that. I invite Tonya, finally taking the main stage, looking forward to what you have to say and your journey. I know you're a woman of many talents and many achievements. Bless you.
Bom dia, everyone. It's been said that art is the heartbeat of humanity. And if you think about it, it really is. Art influences our thoughts, it disrupts assumptions, art informs us of our collective history, and it sparks conversation and debate. Everywhere we go, art is evident. Think about the artistic presentation and infusion of flavors in your last meal. Look closely at the patterns in your clothing or even the details of your jewelry. And even look at the pieces that fit together to form the chair that you're sitting on. And let's not forget about the kaleidoscope of color that nature paints for us, our own masterpiece. From music and dance to roadway designs, skyscrapers, and literary works, art is so intertwined into the fabric of our society that it has already carved a pathway to global consciousness. By example, let me share a story about how the arts influenced a young girl. At the age of 5, this young girl picked up a violin, and she began learning the basics of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. That experience inspired her to look at the sky differently and later study our solar system. Throughout her adolescent years, the girl studied dance and theater, and she gravitated to the rich strings of the cello, where she was introduced to composers like Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, and Mozart. She learned about the countries those artists hail from and discovered a world outside of her small town. This young girl devoured classics by Charlotte Bronte and Charles Dickens, and she was transformed by provocative novels like Richard Wright's Native Son, a literary work that continues to inspire debate decades after its publication. In her teenage years, the girl played with palettes of eyeshadow and saw her face transform, sometimes in something that resembled a Dali or a Picasso painting. As a young woman, she traveled to the places that the arts exposed her to. And as she continued her involvement with the arts during periods where she traveled and lived abroad, the young woman learned about world history, different periods of architectural designs, and cultural and social anthropologies, all while she tasted the flavors of the world. As an adult, she discovered other art forms, the art of diplomacy, of travel, of communication, and the art of persuasion, which served her as a lawyer in her adult life. Her world travels exposed her to social injustice, poverty, and prejudice, but she also experienced generosity, beauty, and kindness from those she met. She writes and talks about both of those experiences through her award-winning media travel site and podcast, World Footprints. Through World Footprints, this woman, along with her husband, seeks to connect the world one story at a time. She also uses her artistic gift of storytelling to share the strength of our common humanity and raise awareness about human rights violations, environmental, and conservation issues. This woman later grew up to be appointed by the White House as a Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Education, and most recently appointed by the United Nations to serve as a delegate at the UN Commission on the Status of Women in their 63rd session, which just ended. You might have guessed that the woman I've been talking about is myself. You got it, Maggie. I stand before you today to share how integral the arts have been throughout my life. In our book, Success Simplified, which is available upstairs, I describe how the arts led me to my passion in my life's purpose. I've been educated and inspired and provoked, and my view of the world has been broadened because of the arts. The arts encouraged me to dream. The arts planted a seed that has blossomed into a global citizen. Now imagine the global citizens we can grow with the innovative and creative seeds that the arts offer. Children today are not benefiting from arts programs in school like I once did. Instead, communities are carrying the mantle. And because of this, they are covering the grounds that our government should be offering and respecting the value of arts in a young person's life. An example of a community-based program can be found in the Vidigal favela in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This favela has community theater and a hospitality program because the high school and Sheridan Hotel, in a hospitality program between the high school and Sheridan Hotel. Another example can be found in Detroit, Michigan, where the Heidelberg program is turning a drug and crime-infested neighborhood into a street arts project aimed at speaking for the underprivileged against political power. Now contrast that with the lack of funding by the US government to public schools arts programs. Under the current administration, the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities are being threatened with elimination in the 2020 budget. And that's a travesty. Early exposure to the arts is powerful, limitless, and transformative. Art informs our global consciousness. We can't escape art's influence, but we wouldn't want to. Without the arts in our lives, we would lose a critical form of creative human expression. And the map that we have set out and that we should follow is what the arts have taught us. And that is our path towards global consciousness. Obrigada.
Thank you so much, Tonya, for sharing those thought-provoking stories and examples from your part of the world, because it just shows that what sometimes the governments don't do, people do, communities do. And that's why it's so pertinent and it's so integral to our path to global consciousness that we keep passing on the baton. We keep empowering. As I empower myself, I empower everyone else. So it's important that we do it on a personal level. Thank you for getting into the nuts and bolts of that a little bit. Thank you. I invite Meena Chopra to please share her journey and views. Okay. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this platform. She, the restless streak. She is the power. She is the female force, the Mother Earth. Anyway. Art, a path to global consciousness. I'll start with a quote by Marco Kusumavijaya, who is an architect, urbanist, a foremost voice in sustainability, and he's a Japanese. He says, "We see art as a way of knowing, as a way of researching, and as a way of touching the hearts of people and communities. It allows us to encourage things that are fun, but at the same time, critical to promoting deeper thoughts. Artists, by nature, have to have a sense of sustainability as leaders. Artists are change agents, and art touches the very core of humanity. Art as a path of global consciousness, therefore, could be a great unifying tool because it is collective nature. Artists by nature have a sense of sustainability. As an artist, I know that my world is always changing. We are the people who bring in and facilitate change and have been catalysts of innovations. Artists use their art to bring awareness to the issues that we have to deal with in hopes of bringing about change, and even just to raise awareness in how much diversity there is in our world today. Again, I want to quote a very prominent American artist. His name is Alex Gray, and he is also doing a lot of work in sustainability. Art is an echo of the creative force that gives birth to galaxies. Creativity is the way with which the cosmos evolves and communicates with itself. The great uplifting of humanity beyond its self-destruction is the redemptive mission of art. And I believe that's the only mission of art. The artists channel the creative force into the artifacts, and the artifacts then turn into a kind of battery ready to zap the viewer into the new way of seeing the world. Planetary consciousness becomes cosmic consciousness through human consciousness, and global consciousness is part of that cosmic consciousness. Through the history, art has been a major component in transforming human consciousness and revolutionizing societies. Art is, in its nature it is political because it represents a voice that will not be ever compromised. If I speak of Canada, concerns about environment have been enormous, even at political level in general, and more so in our First Nation artists, whose heritage lies within the land, who are very close to earth and to the nature. It's very important to say that urban land has also been concern of many artists in Canada. Vancouver School of Photo-Conceptualism deals with a subject of how it is to be living in urban environments. They are doing a lot of work in this direction. They are also dealing with the subjects like racism, immigration, poverty, hunger, riots, etc. Now, some artists want to explore the eternal question, just what is art? That is important. While others to protest with the things that they disagree with within the society, like the overconsumption of material goods and social inequalities. Global consciousness includes the expectations that people understand domestic diversities, issues like privilege, powers, social justice, etc., and exhibit behavior that reveal an inclination towards equity, and that they understand the way that diversity, social justice issues plays a role globally. Now, technology also has a very important part here. Technology plays an immense role because it has made entire world a global village. This technology also plays an important part in artists' advancement of the work too. And with this, I would like to conclude it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You can hear me anyway. I don't need this. Thank you so much, Meena. Oh, yes, it's turned off. Now it's working. Magic. What I was going to say is that creativity and art takes courage. So thank you for being as courageous as you are, and each one of you as well. And to a courageous little musician, my pleasure and privilege to invite you to take the main stage. Sweet soul sister. What's good, Tomar? How you feeling? You good? Okay, good to see you. Good to see you all. Jaleh, do you want the hand? No, I think I'm okay. Thank you, though. Perfect, thank you. So this whole notion of art really got me really pumped as I was thinking about this topic. And art is such this encompassed, multi-layered, beautiful diamond that can absolutely help us lead to not just our individual compassion and cultivating mindfulness and then raising the consciousness within our own mini universe, but also in the people who we touch and all of the work that we do and all of the people we love and all of the people we smile at on the street. And made me think of this question: how many of you have ever been in an experience where you were not in your comfort zone, you were not in your native land, city, country, language, and you were bestowed this really beautiful gift, this heavenly sweetness of being received and welcomed and embraced with just this loving hospitality? Have you ever had this? Yeah. Yes, everybody. My people, yeah. So this has basically been my experience pretty much my whole life. I've had the infinite blessing of being a Persian American, very quiet girl in the inner city growing up. And I had a best friend who taught me all about music and beat making and hip hop. And he was this amazing ambassador of this noble culture, the African American community, that gave rise to so many art forms that we all get to enjoy all over the world. And they are extremely sensitive and welcoming and joyful and resilient and beyond measure just blessed. And I feel very, very grateful to have such an amazing best friend who taught me a little bit about putting our emotions into music and letting music be a way, really as a vehicle, to help stimulate this connection to our hearts so that we can actually feel our heartbeat. Maybe get back on beat when we feel off beat, which life sometimes does. And this is one of the beats that he inspired me to write, and I wanted to share it with you. So just to sprinkle a little bit of Avery into this room, my best friend, to allow hip-hop to embrace me and to use a little bit of a vehicle of music to open up our hearts, to feel our heartbeat, to know that you are not separate from other people, even if we look different, even if we have a different texture of hair or a different skin color or speak a different native language. We're part of this human family. One noble, beautiful, diverse rose garden, flower garden, orchard, where we are each created noble. We all have these amazing gifts inside us. And we can think and we can move and we can be still, but we have a heartbeat that we each bring to the
to the table just by showing up into this room. We have a symphony of heartbeats. And we can move, and we can be still, and we can remember this fundamental truth that you are each created noble and are gems of inestimable value. And if you just feel like moving a little bit to feel your heart, to remember that you are loved, that you are welcomed in this beautiful city of Tomar, and as you leave to go in any other city you travel, that we are one human family, that you are an important heartbeat in this world, that your instrument, your life matters, and you are a drop of this infinite ocean. So thank you, Avery. And I just wanted to mix it up a little bit because he likes mixing it up too. Sometimes we also got to find another heartbeat. Our strength, our confidence, remembering all the things we've been through, the challenges we've had. It doesn't belittle your value, it raises your value because you are polishing your gems of inestimable value. So thank you, Avery, for letting everyone feel your heartbeats. Thank you for bringing your unique rhythm into this beautiful rhythm of life. Thank you for adding to the symphony of humanity, because with you, in all of your nobility, all of your capacity, all of your tenderness with yourself, share from the overflow of that joy, of that mindfulness, of that consciousness. So we're soul family, taking care of each other. Thank you for bringing your heartbeat to the table today. Thank you for moving and being still and leading your life your way. Much love to you.